Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast. I'm Dean.
I'm Carrie.
Carrie's going to bring us part 2 of the Epstein files. The Jeffrey Epstein saga continues. Carrie?
I'm traumatized.
Yeah, it's a traumatizing story.
Well, we left off episode 1 with Epstein's sweetheart deal, orchestrated by Alex Acosta. This was in 2008. Alex Acosta was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida or something like that. Epstein was given an 18-month jail sentence. He served 13 in a Palm Beach County jail, where he also got out of jail 12 hours a day.
Basically, he slept in a county jail, undoubtedly under close protection.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then 12 months house arrest, which he violated daily with absolutely zero consequences. But was he cut off from polite society after pleading guilty?
What? Just because he's a pedophile and pimp to the rich and famous?
Going to jail and becoming a registered sex offender?
No,
what do you think, Dean?
No. He's not the only red dot in Palm Beach.
I'm sure. Well, one way where he sort of maintained his good reputation in some circles was by being a very generous donor to universities and scientific research that he was interested in. And he had always done this. He had some weird fascination with science. Not that science is weird, but
Okay.
we'll get into it.
Okay.
But he was also able to get back to his life of parties and socializing. And it seemed that, celebrities and wealthy people just didn't care about what he did. It was well known at that point, obviously. While his victims struggled with drugs and self-harm and all that kind of stuff, because some of his victims were publicly named, which is not supposed to happen.
And harassed during the hearings and grand jury trials as well.
Well, some of Jeffrey Epstein's choice of scientific causes will give us a little bit of an idea what his disturbing beliefs were. He would dangle financing above the heads of certain scientists for their own pet projects.
Are they literally leaping, trying to snatch the things out of the air with their mouths? Okay, I'm visualizing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that
in
donut
white lab
game
coats, but
where you put donuts on strings.
Yes. But they're skinny, nerdy people in white lab coats with beakers and their stuff. Okay.
And he'd wrap
that actually sounds
$100 bills around them.
Sure.
Well, some of his group of acquaintances and scientists were several Nobel laureates.
Really?
And he would bring these people to his home for parties, and he would have parties where he'd have scientists, and then on the other side of the table he would have models and stuff. And it was there was no cross conversation between the scientists and the models, and so Epstein would talk to the scientists about science, and then he would turn to his right and talk to the models about where their next shoot was going to be. And it seems
That's
very
the
bizarre.
Worst cocktail party ever.
Could you imagine?
One of them try. So, ladies, no. You don't talk to them, Dr. Johnson. Only I can.
Well, so in some of these meetings with scientists, he liked to discuss his own little pet theories that included eugenics.
Why am I not surprised?
And one ambition that he discussed, this is according to a story in the New York Times, was that he wanted to impregnate multiple women in order to spread his own DNA, which I assume he thinks was
this is a
so
thing
superior.
Among those people, obviously Musk is famous for this.
Yeah, it is weird. So
they really think. I mean, 99 out of 100 won the lottery or were born to wealth or something like that. I mean, somewhere along those lines, but they all come to think that they're the best and the brightest and the smartest people in the world. They pretty much never are, but they all think that, which tells me that they're somewhere deep down in the subconscious, they know they're not.
Yeah.
And so they tend to be in favor of eugenics and talk about how brilliant they are and try to spread their seed as if they're doing the world a massive favor.
Yeah. When in actuality, they're usually lucky criminals.
Yeah.
or family.
Or just
they inherit it.
Those are the three top reasons for people to be. I mean, I'm not, we've said this before, but like, like Zuckerberg was immensely lucky. He stole something. It blew up. He then did really ruthless things to make it number one, to beat that space at the time. I'm not completely denigrating that, but you're not the smartest guy in any room.
No, it was luck. It was 98% luck. Yeah, I think. Anywho, his plan was to have 20 women bear his children, and that his ranch, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico.
We've just renamed the state, and I kind of like it.
In Nuevo Mexico would be the base of his. I mean, it sounds like he wants to be a cult leader at that point.
It does, doesn't it?
And so this could have been part of his interest in transhumanism.
Oh my God!
Do you know what that is?
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah,
we're going to do an episode on it one of these days. I've been reading a little bit about it,
which is basically genetic engineering, how to improve the population through genetic engineering and artificial intelligence.
It's particularly popular among the worst of the worst in Silicon Valley. Those, the Peter Thiels and the really, horrible people like that who are doing nothing but harm to the world.
Yeah. So this is the kind of guy he was. Okay. So now let's go back to his legal problems.
Honestly, it really is amazingly predictable when someone is just awful in their private life, in the sense of Jeffrey Epstein. He's a pedophile. He's a pimp. It is, and when they're in something like finance and they're very, very wealthy or something like that, it is super predictable that they're going to be into things like eugenics and transhumanism or things like that. It really, the correlation is very strong. That really hangs together, oddly enough. Well, not oddly enough, but yeah.
So we talked about in his 2008 plea deal how it was basically negotiated and actually executed pretty much in secret. None of the victims or their attorney had any sort of say in anything that happened. And under the Crime Victims' Rights Act, the victims actually do have a legal right to confer with the prosecution before the case is resolved.
But not if that person who's being prosecuted is rich and connected. I don't understand. I'm pretty sure there's a clause in there that says that.
Almost like
it's
the laws
Florida.
don't apply to everybody equally. Well,
they don't.
So essentially, a judge could decide that plea deal was illegal and void the immunity deal and the non-prosecution deal that they gave him and Ghislaine Maxwell and any co-conspirators. So Brad Edwards, the attorney for a bunch of the victims, he literally filed a legal challenge to the plea deal and the non-prosecution agreement the next day. So July 7th, 2008, on the grounds that it violated the CRVA, the Crime Victims' Rights Act. So in the course of that case, they subpoenaed all the email communication between Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys and the prosecutors. Turns out they were using Gmail addresses, the prosecutors. Yeah. And Alex Acosta was actually holding meetings with Epstein's lawyers outside of the U.S. Attorney's Office. They would go to a Marriott hotel to have these meetings. So they were clearly trying to hide what they were doing.
There's nothing about this deal that wasn't a sweetheart deal for someone.
Yeah.
To protect a monstrous predator like that, too. Let's remember. I know. Just think about that for a second. How this is the U.S. attorney. This is prosecutors. This is grand juries doing their level best to help someone they know is having sex and forcing young teenagers to have sex with, gross ass rich guys, routine for years, and they're bending over backwards and risking their careers theoretically to free this guy, make sure this guy doesn't suffer what he should have suffered.
Well, I don't think Alex Acosta was risking his career by giving him a sweetheart deal. I think he would have been risking his career by prosecuting him the way he initially said he should be prosecuted. Before he knew who Jeffrey Epstein was, remember, it was, oh, great, we're going to put this guy away for the rest of his life. So something happened.
Well, then he found out, wait, who was at these parties? Oh, shit. 180 this one.
Yeah, I think
fast.
He was getting orders.
Oh, for sure. No,
above
no question.
Him. So Brad Edwards was on it, like I said. He literally had it filed the very next day. But this
Sorry, you missed your deadline.
Sure. This legal battle continued in the courts for over a decade. And it should be simple, right?
I mean, they clearly violated that law.
But apparently, nothing's ever as simple as there is a law, you guys didn't follow it.
Yeah.
It apparently raised all kinds of legal issues that were unprecedented and had never been ruled on by a court.
No, it didn't.
So what?
Yeah, who cares? So
Every law has to be ruled on afterwards by a court in order to have to be enforced. I don't get it.
There's no constitutional grounds for that, denying that law or declaring that law unconstitutional. And as far as I know, they did not. They just...
Well, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Florida under Alex Acosta fought this lawsuit from the very beginning. They denied wrongdoing for years. They filed motions to dismiss, challenge standing, ridiculous, and used all kinds of, legalese, procedural tactics just to delay it.
It's just a gross, gross world.
And they argued that the victims had no right to be notified until formal federal charges were filed, which never happened under that non-prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
So what they would have to wait. I mean, there were no...
They don't have to wait. It's just they made it in such a way, they ruled in such a way that they would never, by their logic or illogic, be triggered at all.
Yeah.
Right? You have to wait for federal charges, but we're never going to file federal charges.
Exactly.
We just did a plea deal, so we didn't actually file federal charges. So that's sleazy and dishonest. But the lawyers, so... Yeah.
So it just goes on, and these poor victims are hanging out in limbo, essentially. Yeah. And every now and then things would come out and their names would come out, and it was an ongoing nightmare for a lot of these young women.
Did any of them file civil suit?
Yes.
I think? Okay.
Yeah. And Brad Edwards was also, I think he was representing like around 70 of them.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So.
Just think about that for a second. There's 70 to represent, far more in actuality.
Way more.
And that's why he was a sedentary crime wave of Palm Beach pedophilia, and the most powerful people in the state are, in bed with him.
And that's the thing.
Are his allies and saviors. That's insane.
And the thing is, Brad Edwards, I don't want to call them victims. I mean, they are victims, but his clients are only from Palm Beach. These are only the Florida ones. And we know this was international. Yeah. So anyhow, now we're going to talk about what leads up to the 2019 charges.
Okay. And this, I thought it was 2019? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So this is what played out in the years after that fairly quickly. And what is now becoming, a huge amount of news. Because tell me if I'm wrong, but the so-called Epstein files and the records and things like that come from this investigation in the later 2010s, correct? They don't harken back, do they? To the 2004 and 5. Okay.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's all the files.
Okay.
From everything.
So going back to the U.S. attorneys in the mid 2000s on to here in the later 2010s. Yes. All right.
So in 2011, a woman named Virginia Roberts Giuffre, Giuffre, she first publicly shares her story about Jeffrey Epstein in detail. She had spoken to law enforcement earlier in, privacy or whatever. And then her allegations become widely known. She gives an interview and it basically goes public. And her story is that in 1999, when she was 16, she got a job at Mar-a-Lago.
Interesting.
As a locker room attendant in the spa.
In 99.
In 99. Okay. She's 16 and she wants to become a massage therapist. While she's working in the spa, I'm assuming she's handing out towels or whatever, Ghislaine, whatever, approaches her when she's sitting there reading a book about massage therapy and tells her, oh gosh, by the way, I know somebody who's looking for a traveling masseuse. She's talking to a 16-year-old girl. And
Ghislaine Maxwell, to remind from part one, she was basically Jeffrey Epstein's procurer. She's the one who went out looking for underage girls to bring to these pedophile parties.
Apparently she's one of several. She wasn't the only one.
No, yeah.
She's just the most high profile. Yeah.
Yeah. And because he occasionally dated her and she was she was really his right-hand person. Yeah, of course he had other procurers, I'm sure.
Yeah. So she takes him to Jeffrey Epstein, I'm assuming to his Palm Beach Palm Beach mansion, and he's naked on the massage table. And this is like her, audition to be a teenage masseuse.
Pedophiles naked on a massage table. What do you do? This is a test. Go.
So they tell her to take her clothes off
Makes sense.
after a bit of massaging, and they essentially assault her.
Both of them?
Yes, both of them. Afterwards, they tell her her interview went great, and why don't you come back tomorrow? Again, she's a child.
Yeah.
She hasn't had the best life, and apparently she ends up telling them about, her rough life. She's been abused. She was a runaway, stuff like that. Perfect victim.
It's exactly who
for them.
They prey on.
So she goes to work for Jeffrey Epstein, doing whatever he wanted her to do, and I think we know what a lot of that is. And she said that both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made it feel like they were in this weird, deranged family. And I'm sure there's a lot of kind of like love bombing going on, giving her things, taking her places, telling her they're going to take care of her.
Did you say love bombing?
Yeah. You know what love bombing is?
I do not.
It's when it's usually in romantic relationships where a man, like at the beginning of a relationship, he love bomb you. He immediately is in love with you. He gives you flowers. He wines and dines you. He takes you fancy places. He gives you jewelry. He just really sucks you in, and then he shows his true colors, and he's an abuser.
I didn't love bomb you.
You absolutely did love bomb.
And you're probably glad for it.
I am not. I would not be. If anybody love bombed me, I would have broken up with them immediately. It has always made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I don't like it.
It seems like almost always going to be manipulative. I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I don't like it. So, she has said that she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein over 30 times, basically given to men for sex. Jesus. A lot of powerful, well-known, high-profile politicians.
We are going to get some names, aren't we?
We are going to get into a lot of names. Starting when she was 16. Here's a name for you. Yeah. Prince Andrew.
Of course.
In London.
Andy.
In London when she was 17.
So she was sent to London.
She was there with Ghislaine Maxwell, and he came, I think they were in her apartment. He came over, and Ghislaine Maxwell told her she was going to have to do for him what she did for Jeffrey Epstein. I guess, starting off with a massage and ending with what. Mm-hmm. She went public through interviews and stuff. And she also reported to law enforcement eventually and named some of the men. So Prince Andrew was one of them. Alan Dershowitz was another.
No surprise there.
She
Mr.
said
Can't Get a Pierogi in Nantucket.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Champion of Civil Liberties, but then turns out to be OJ's lawyer and a Fox News commentator. Just a greasy son of a bitch.
Yeah. She said Alan Dershowitz at least 6 times.
Ugh, that's gross.
And they end up suing each other for defamation. In 2002, so by now she's 19, she reminds Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, hey, you guys promised to put me through massage
3 years, right?
Therapist school. Yep. Yeah. And they're all like, oh, yeah, right. We forgot about that. Okay. Here's a plane ticket to Thailand.
Thailand, where they have all the best massage therapy schools. It's the Ivy League of massage therapy schools. It's like there's 10 of them. I can't go to you.
So she does go there, and she does go to massage therapy school. Jesus. But she also meets a nice Australian man named Robert.
A single man in Thailand?
They fall in love.
Red flag right there. You better be there on business.
Get married. Okay. And she moves back to Australia with Robert. As far as I know, she never goes back to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She calls him and basically says, hey, guess what? I'm married. I'm not coming back.
Try and find me.
So then she starts talking about it publicly in 2014. In 2011. Okay. In 2014, she's publicly named in some of the public court filings in the case. And after this, she's giving more and more public interviews, and she essentially becomes the most vocal and well-known victim. And if you Google her, you can see a lot of her interviews.
But remember, he's continuing this. This is out in the public. This is getting some media attention, not as much as it probably should have. Mm-hmm. But in 2011 and 2014, he is still doing all of these things in Palm Beach, I'm sure in New York, and as he said, overseas as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never stopped doing this. That's his livelihood.
I wonder how much he was still doing it in Palm Beach just because of the previous. I don't know. I mean, they were onto him. Palm Beach Police Department would not have messed around with him. So I'll bet he's not doing it.
Messed around? Oh, you would not have
They
tolerated
hated
it?
him.
Yeah.
They really wanted him prosecuted.
I don't know. Maybe when he was in Palm Beach, he wasn't, but he probably was back in Manhattan or by traveling. I wouldn't be surprised too if he just was a little more on the down low in Palm Beach, a little quieter.
He might have been doing a lot more in his island.
Because that's right. That's where they started doing those junkets to the island. Okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Virginia died by suicide in April of this year at her farm in Australia. She was only 41.
I can say alleged suicide. Because I'm going to say alleged suicide.
It was kind of decided that it was suicide. Her family didn't dispute it, I don't think. Initially, her father did, but her father wasn't there. He still lived in the United States, and I don't think her husband disputed it. I mean, given what she had been going through
But that's just it, though. She'd been very public about this for now almost 15 years at this time. So really, now she decides to kill herself? Now it's too much? Now it's overwhelming?
Yeah, why not? It's been 25 years.
It could be. I'm just not going to discount. I'm absolutely not going to discount that. I mean, these people are capable of anything.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people thought that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But.
I don't either. No, I don't either. I'm not saying for sure. I'm just saying it's something that shouldn't be just completely discounted. That's all.
Yeah. So there's another accuser who says, I think she's British. She came forward in 2016 and she came to the United States. She had been living in Spain, I think, to get away from everything. And she had been taken to the island as a young woman and she basically tried to escape. She was going to swim off the island. She was, you know.
You mentioned that a couple of times now. Where was this island? When did he get this island? When did he start doing these? We
talked about it last episode.
A little bit.
Early 90s, I think. 1990 maybe he bought the island. Yeah. It's one of it's a tiny little island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. But he also bought a neighboring, much larger island that he wanted to develop into like a big resort. That he never did. But that was his plan.
Allegedly.
Maybe he was going to keep some more wives and oodles of children there too.
Cult compound, who knows?
Yeah.
Or is just an excuse to have this island and be going over there because he's looking at his potential huge development, and really the island was there for having these very lucrative parties.
Yeah.
Because these people he's not doing this for free. There's where he's getting paid for this, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And there have been hints about wire transfers and stuff like and some of the banking records that, in fact, I forgot I was going to look into that a little bit more, but there were thousands of bank records that, that they're supposed to trigger certain reporting.
Yeah.
And so I think for some reason, a lot of these transactions were not reported the way they should have been, or they were reported maybe by the banks, and whoever, I don't know who was supposed to look into them, didn't look into them, or nothing came of it or whatever. So
that's just those kinds of money transfers and things like that. Undoubtedly, he's also being paid by, being cut in on deals and things like that. There's very creative ways, especially in finance. There's very creative ways to pay someone off without just literally wiring them money.
Yeah. So then what happens in 2017, Dean? What notable thing happened in this world of
President Trump
sexual
assumes the presidency?
Allegations. Well, that too.
Okay.
But the Me Too movement happens.
2017. Okay.
October of 2017, after Harvey Weinstein's accusations were published. And then Alyssa Milano, fun fact, posted on social media for people to share stories using the words Me Too. I don't think she did the hashtag Me Too, but that's what it became. She didn't make up the Me Too. That was actually coined like a decade earlier by an activist, and it was mostly around sexual assault victims of color.
Okay.
But this is when it became a big thing. And a Miami journalist named Julie K. Brown did an extensive story that included what Alex Acosta did in that plea deal, because Alex Acosta was nominated by Donald Trump in his first administration for Secretary of Labor.
Yeah.
And during his confirmation hearing, Tim Kaine asked him about the Epstein plea agreement, and which Alex Acosta defended because he said it guaranteed jail time. So it was a good deal.
Yeah. Tim Kaine, by the way, is a senator from Virginia, Democrat.
Yes. And he would have been vice president. He should have been vice president. So as we know, what happened, Alex Acosta, of course, was confirmed because all of those bad guys got confirmed.
Yeah. And that was the first cabinet. Wow. They were ready for the second. So back then it's like, wow, if we would have died, we would take that first cabinet all day long in 2025.
Yeah.
So that kind of brought the Costa stuff back into. I remember it did kind of come a little bit of tension, but not too much. I mean, again, all you have to do is look at the barest details of the Acosta plea deal, and there's absolutely no defending it, let alone dig in a little and see what a sweetheart, sleazy, dishonest, illegal deal it was. And again, and you're doing this for a monster who has admitted to being a horrific pedophile pimp. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just...
Well, he didn't admit to being a horrific pedophile pimp.
He took a plea, so yeah, you did. No one's taken a plea.
He took a plea for one count.
It doesn't matter. If you take a plea, you did it. And
well, we know that.
No one who takes a plea is innocent. It's the stupidest thing in the world.
Well, I don't agree with that.
I do. It's complete. I mean, under those circumstances, no rich person who takes a plea.
Absolutely.
A powerful person.
Poor people all the time are railroaded into plea deals because they can't afford a good defense and just get it over with and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but we know that happens.
People who are powerful and wealthy,
yes,
it's a way out of something that should have been a punishment that should have been much worse.
So in February of 2019, a judge ruled finally that the victims' rights thing was violated in the 2008 plea deal. Judge Kenneth Mara, he was a judge for the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of Florida, ruled that the federal prosecutors violated the law by not notifying the victims of the plea deal. Yeah. But he didn't immediately void that non-prosecution agreement or say that Epstein could be prosecuted at that point for some reason. But doesn't matter because on July 6th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein is arrested again at, where was he arrested? He was arrested at an airport coming back from France.
And this was by federal authorities? By the FBI or by who arrested him?
Well, it was FBI in New York.
Oh, in New York. Okay.
Yeah. And it was on federal sex trafficking charges based on new evidence, not exactly the 2008 stuff.
Some of the stuff from the island or just various shenanigans?
Various shenanigans, but they went back to Florida, went back to Palm Beach to interview those victims from the original 2008 case and then uncover other victims. Other victims come forward and also were interviewed, and this was all done by FBI in New York detectives. Okay. So, he was arrested at a New Jersey airport, Teterboro. Okay. So the maximum sentence for what they were charging him with was 45 years. And then after the arrest, an additional more than a dozen women came forward with more abuse claims. So at this point, he's in jail. They search his New York mansion and they find thousands of photos of nude young women, child porn, all kinds of gross stuff. And, this is a big story. I remember when this
definitely
happened.
A big story, yes.
Huge.
Yes.
All of a sudden, nobody really liked him. We didn't know him that well.
No. I mean,
I never liked that guy.
It was I knew of him.
Bill Clinton, for instance, claimed that he was never on the island.
Yeah, well.
Records actually prove that he was on the plane 26 times.
26 times. What a gross motherfucker.
Not always to the island. Yeah. Well. But he was seen at the island.
You're hobnobbing with this person for a fact is a pedophile and procurer. I mean, theoretically, there is some, because you still was in finance, I'm sure some acquaintances of him weren't doing these things. But no, if you're have that much contact with him, you're on his fucking plane for 26 times. You did go on the island. You're a pedophile. That's why you do those things.
I mean, I'm assuming he did.
That's why you're going there.
One guy who worked at the island said that he did see Bill Clinton there having lunch. He didn't say he was just there for the day and had lunch. He never saw him do anything improper, but so what?
No, for sure he did. No question.
Prince Andrew,
okay.
didn't ever remember meeting Jeffrey Epstein. And he didn't remember the photo with him and 17-year-old Virginia in London. His defense was that, Virginia talked about it. She said they went to a dance club, and she said that he was sweating profusely because she had to dance with him, and he was dripping sweat on her. And his defense was that he had a medical condition at the time.
Of course he did.
So he must have been cured.
Yeah.
That meant he couldn't sweat.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. And
Idiot.
also he was at the Pizza Express with his daughter the night that Virginia said
Wait, this is Prince Andrew?
met. Yeah.
This is years ago. Wait, what day? 14 years ago? Tuesday? No. For sure it was at Pizza Express with my daughter, obviously. I know for a fact. What an idiot.
Yes. So
check to his name too.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Quote, wasn't a fan.
Wasn't a fan.
And,
maybe his best friend.
But they had a falling out, and he hadn't spoken to him in 15 years.
Yeah. It had been almost 50 years in 2005. Between late 1980s and 2005, they were very close friends.
He says.
There's 20-something pictures of them hanging out together.
Oh, of course. That would have placed it around 2004. And that was also a lie. I mean, I know he's just off the cuff saying 15 years, but still. Yeah. So based on this, now Chuck Schumer calls on Alex Acosta to resign his position as Secretary of Labor.
He should be prosecuted.
And originally, Alex Acosta had a press conference or whatever. He claimed that he was happy with the new prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein because it was based on new evidence.
Okay.
Evidence that he clearly didn't know all of this stuff was going on.
I just had 70 women willing to testify against him. I had no chance. I was lucky to get what I did on that plea deal.
And 2 days later, he resigned.
What a piece of shit.
So yay. Small favors.
Not nearly enough. That monstrosity needs to go to jail with the rest of them.
So, of course, Jeffrey Epstein gets a bail hearing like every criminal does, and his attorneys offered hundreds of millions of dollars as a bond.
He would be so gone.
But because of the stuff that they found when they searched his home,
absolutely not.
His home safe had passports, diamonds, clear indicators that he was ready to flee prosecution.
At a moment's notice. They just got him at the airport. They were they were smart about that. He wasn't a flight risk. He was a flight certainty. No question whatsoever.
Absolutely. So on August 10th, 2019, Epstein apparently hangs himself in his jail cell. 2 days earlier, he supposedly attempted to kill himself. I don't know how.
Otherwise, they botched the first attempt.
Yeah, I don't know if that was hanging.
So he died. I'm not going to say he killed himself because we all know he didn't. He died just over a month after his arrest. I didn't realize it was that fast.
It was very fast.
So they needed to get him fast.
Yeah.
Because they knew eventually he was going to start naming names. Or they feared eventually he was going to start naming names at some point quickly. Okay. That's even more certain of what, because you have to. I mean, I know you're going to get into it, but for him to want to kill himself, you'd have to argue that there was no chance of him getting away with it. Absolutely was. He had already gotten away with it. He was incredibly rich. He had incredibly powerful friends. There's no reason he wouldn't assume they'll do the same thing for me. In 2005, they'll do it here. I know it was more. That was a big deal then in 2008. That was a big deal then as well. That got a lot of play then as well. I know it's worse this time, but he still had Trump in the White House.
I was going to say he has a lot more to offer this time.
Yeah, he does.
And
Trump has been.
Why would he do it so quick?
Yeah,
he doesn't even know.
Yeah, he has no idea
what the case is against him.
He's not been brought. I mean, if you have been convicted, you're looking at 45 years. You're in some kind of prison where other inmates might have access to you. Maybe.
Yeah.
None of those things were true, and I would argue not even very likely.
Yeah. If it had happened much later, then
much later,
it would be a little bit more believable.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that make it slightly believable to me, but I don't. The timing doesn't make sense.
The story
to me
again,
still.
and I know you're going to go through it, but the story of how he was made to look as if he committed suicide is just ludicrous with the time problem with the video and things like that, and just the situation around it. Go ahead and get into it, but it's just I'm going to presuppose myself. I find it an utterly ludicrous story. I think that's underrated in terms of when we assess. We've talked about this in other criminal kinds of cases and murder mysteries and things like that. When you assess the story of someone who might be of a alleged perpetrator, you really should assess: is that real? Is that realistic? Does it have does it seem logical? And when the story is like, that's a super fishy story, that I consider that strong evidence when that person might be guilty. And in Jeffrey Epstein's so-called suicide, the story of that surrounds his suicide is fairly ludicrous, which makes it highly unlikely it was suicide.
Well, okay, so Jeffrey Epstein is in the Metropolitan Correction Center in Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
Waiting for his trial on these federal sex trafficking charges. Apparently, on July 23rd, he sustained apparent self-inflicted injuries.
And that's 15 days after he's arrested. Okay, so 2 weeks after.
Yes.
Wait. Yes. No.
He was arrested on July 6th.
Sorry. So 2.5 weeks after he's arrested, he is in this, I'm assuming, highly secure federal facility, and he supposedly tries to kill himself?
Yep. Well, self-inflicted injuries.
Okay.
So
what were they?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. But because of it, he was placed on suicide watch.
Okay.
Which was lifted a week later. So July 23rd, he's placed on suicide watch for 1 week. That brings us to July 30th. And in violation of typical jail protocols, he does not have a cellmate, even though there were instructions to assign one to him. The surveillance cameras in the hallway and showing his cell malfunctioned.
This is July. What day is this?
This is around August 9th and 10th.
Okay.
So surveillance cameras were malfunctioning, and the guards there were 2 guards on duty. They were supposed to conduct mandatory 30-minute checks where they'd be walking by his cell, checking to make sure that everything is A-okay. And in fact, the guards falsified the logs that indicated they had been doing these 30-minute checks, but they weren't.
So they weren't. They claimed they were not doing these 30-minute checks. That's weird, because maybe they weren't. Maybe they're just lazy guards, or maybe they're motivated to say they weren't.
Well, we know the surveillance cameras malfunctioned on August 9th and 10th, but there is camera footage.
Okay, yeah.
That would show whether or not they were doing these checks.
And they were not?
And they were not.
Okay.
So I don't know how many they weren't doing and how many they were doing, but we know that they falsified the logs and they weren't doing the checks that they were supposed to be doing. So then on August 10th, 2019, as we alluded to in our tease, Jeffrey Epstein apparently hanged himself in his cell. The allegation is that he tied his bed sheet around his neck, tied the other end on his bunk, his bed, and that he either jumped, because nobody saw it, and it's not on video.
It's because he didn't have a second cellmate, but it's still a bunk bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So he could have tied it on the top and sort of leapt off. Okay.
But still, it's a few feet. It's not going to
not break your neck.
No.
At all. You'll choke out, and it will take quite a little time. And of course, your instinct is going to be to stop that. But if you are suicidal, you won't.
Yeah.
Or he could have just leaned forward and choked himself that way.
Yeah. And also, apparently, the guards fell asleep.
That's soup's convenient.
Yes. So, Attorney General Bill Barr, Trump appointee, worked for Trump, who I remember the time we were horrified. We thought, oh my God, this guy, right?
Oh, he is a terrible, terrible person.
I know.
He just wasn't to the depths of the terror.
I know.
that many of the others were, and the entire cabinet is now. He was He's like, he had at some point, Bill Barr, who's always been a real, ideologically driven. He was an excuse maker for George Bush, the second administration. He, though, actually finally found a spine toward the end of the Trump administration. But yeah.
Well, and in this case, he thought there were serious irregularities at the facility, and he thought that Epstein's death raised serious questions that needed to be answered, and he proactively consulted with the Department of Justice's Inspector General to open an investigation, in addition to the FBI opening an inquiry into it. Okay. So the questions were, did somebody else kill him? Yes. Did he kill himself? Did somebody hire a guard to kill him? Did they let somebody else in? And I don't think these questions have ever been answered.
They have not been answered, but there is questions about the footage and about the missing portion of the footage that would have shown us someone entering and leaving who's not a guard or
correct, from the quote unquote malfunctioning cameras.
I mean, if no cellmate, and he should have had a cellmate. A cellmate would be very inconvenient if you're going to go kill someone in their cell.
Right.
He had cameras that malfunction at the perfect time. You have two guards who
falling
are
asleep at the perfect time.
And then you have this
not doing their job, because I don't think they claimed they were asleep for 5 hours.
Yes,
it was
for there to be a conspiracy theory here. You have to have those two guards bought off or threatened or both to, and still to this day have remained quiet about it. But again, if you
more than that, because they falsified logs, they weren't doing their job and they falsified the logs.
Or they were doing their job, but they falsified the logs because for this conspiracy theory to work, you need the story that the guards were asleep at the wheel, the guards didn't check, so. Yeah, sorry, we falsified logs.
Yeah,
give us
only because we were
each.
asleep. Yeah,
exactly. So you do need a conspiracy for this, but it is a conspiracy that's very tight. It's not one of those ludicrous conspiracies where you need lots and lots of people. This conspiracy does need some external actors. Yeah. In this case, you need the two guards, probably someone else at that prison to let you in and out.
Yeah.
If there's an assassin there, you need someone to mess with the camera, the footage, to make that malfunctioning. And I'm assuming you can get into it now, but tell us about the footage. There's this missing couple of minutes or sometime we're not completely sure how much is missing, right?
Yeah, something like that. And if you want to, you can. They have the White House has posted the entire
allegedly
10 hours of footage or whatever, and it's ridiculous. I started to look at it and it's boring, and you can't tell. It's hard to tell. I mean, you can't see his cell. You know what direction it's in, but I wasn't about to watch
you would
the whole
for
thing.
Sure see. My understanding is that there's a time period missing there's a chunk of it missing at a very critical time. The White House, which was before we released the Epstein tapes and things like that, it was all gung ho because they wanted to get people like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates. Now, suddenly, the White House has said that there's nothing here, there's nothing to see
and
here.
we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Okay,
all of that. So within hours of Jeffrey Epstein's death being announced publicly, the president at the time, Donald Trump, retweeted a post from a conservative commentator, never heard of the guy, also supposedly a comedian, which they always claim to be comedians, and they're never funny. Terrence K. Williams, have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
This post was suggesting a conspiracy specifically invoking the Clinton body count, which they love to do.
Which doesn't make any sense.
This theory that Bill and Hillary Clinton have killed dozens of people, apparently.
That's childish.
And when he was asked about, why did you repost this horrible thing, he defended it, saying, he's just retweeting it. He's somebody who he said was, quote, a very respected conservative pundit. I don't think so.
A, that's an oxymoron. B, no, he's not. Never heard of them.
But he was, because this commentator had a very large following, and
on YouTube, that's the opposite of respect.
Or on Twitter, probably, and that the post was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But so when they asked him if he truly believed that the Clintons were involved in Jeffrey Epstein's death, he said, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. But he supposedly called for a full investigation, which
that never happened, and he had the power to make sure that happened.
Exactly. So. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, was actually his beneficiary of everything in his will, said that he didn't believe that his brother committed suicide, and he hired Dr. Michael Baden, one of your favorites.
Michael Baden?
Yeah.
Who's that?
He's a forensic guy.
I don't know who that is. Why is he my favorite?
Oh, I thought you hated him.
Cyril Wecht, I despise.
Oh.
Is that who you're thinking of?
Maybe.
Okay, he's the worst. He's a former Pittsburgh Emmy, and he's an absolute shill.
Well, Dr. Michael Baden is fairly well known too, obviously.
I vaguely heard the name.
Yeah, I think he's been involved with several celebrity deaths and stuff.
It's a gross little subfield.
But this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, said that there was no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein jumped or leapt from the bunk. Mm-hmm. There were 3 fractures of the hyoid bone, which is usually, as you know, in strangulation deaths.
Can those things happen, though, if you do?
Well, he said you don't get them from a suicidal hanging with someone leaning forward because there's not enough force.
Yeah. But you might, if
to
he
produce
did jump,
those fractures.
I would assume.
He said there was no evidence that he jumped or leapt.
How does he know?
So I don't know. I don't know. And apparently 2 days before he died, Jeffrey Epstein transferred all of his money into a trust in the Virgin Islands, around $577 million, giving 100% of it to his brother, which made it more difficult for his victims to get restitution.
That's gross. So
2 days before he died.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, that's interesting.
That's suspicious.
It doesn't indicate, but it's suggestive that he may have known, they're gonna, because they may have, who knows about that first supposed suicide attempt? That may have been an attempt that didn't go well. I don't know. That's
because this was one of my things. Like, oh God, he could have been planning on killing himself. But you're right.
Yeah.
If his wounds a couple weeks earlier were not truly self-inflicted, then he was worried.
And they would have leverage even over him because obviously they could get to him in prison. Assuming again he understands it's very, very powerful people who want him out of the way or want him to shut up. But they could also be threatening his family. They could be threatening his brother and other people that he held dear still. Despite the fact that he was a sociopathic monster, he still could have been concerned about that.
Yeah.
In fairness, though, I mean, it's not impossible that I don't want to, that he could have committed suicide. It's not impossible that there's another explanation for him transferring the money. He could have wanted it to make sure, like he had an agreement with his brother to make sure you spend that to do everything you can to get me out of jail or get the best possible end of this case as possible. So it's not completely, suspicious that he transferred the money. So soon.
No. Yeah, no, okay. I don't think so. Other forensic experts or whatever disagree with Dr. Baden. They thought, he could have committed suicide.
Who was Baden hired by?
His brother.
His brother, okay.
Mark Epstein. And then we talked about the investigation that Bill Barr ordered. So it was the FBI and the DOJ. It concluded in 2013, obviously, that even though there were irregularities.
Wait.
Yeah, it concluded in 2023.
Okay, you said 13.
Oh, sorry, 2023. Okay. Even though there were irregularities and people didn't do their jobs and all that kind of stuff, that it was still suicide.
Yeah, well.
So.
See, this is one of those things that it cuts across. As the Republicans are finding out, as Trump is finding out right now, you have a ton of concern and interest in the Epstein files from the right because they think it involves people like Bill Clinton, which it clearly does, and also Bill Gates and people like that they hate and despise. But it also involves very conservative, financiers and people in the finance tech sector, as well as their beloved Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And so it really does cut across party and ideology and things like that. So it's one of those situations where all of these rich and incredibly powerful people in a global way want this to go away. That's not common.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what makes it so much more powerful, but also and so much more dangerous for the people involved.
Well, his lawyers immediately filed motions to have the case dismissed because he's dead.
Yeah, I suppose.
But the judge did not dismiss the case because he said he wanted the victims to get their day in court if they wanted it. So they were invited to go to court and testify at a public hearing. This was Judge Berman listened to the victims and they were all given time and everything. And the victims said they were left with the impression that this judge cared about them.
I'm sure he has, but he still can't have a full-blown trial.
Exactly. There couldn't be.
if this was a conspiracy, that was the whole point.
Correct.
If he's dead, you don't have a trial. Shit's going to happen at the trials.
Yes.
Shit's going to come out at the trial.
The executors of Jeffrey Epstein's estate set up a victims' compensation program along with some of the attorneys, like Brad Edwards. And it was approved by the U.S. Virgin Islands Probate Court because that's where his will was executed and all that kind of stuff. So the victims, in order to apply for compensation and then receive it, they had to agree not to sue the estate afterwards, which is typical.
I suppose.
It was funded entirely by the estate, so there was no public funds or anything into it. His estate at that time was $634 million. I don't know how it increased.
Well, maybe in some other parts that they found.
Yes.
I'm sure there's more in other parts too that have not been found. He was considered, I believe he was considered a billionaire, wasn't he?
He was, but his estate was $634 million.
So he was hiding money.
That's not all liquid. That's properties and all that kind of stuff. Sure. So, The program administrator was Jordana Feldman, who was a well-respected person. She was also involved with the administration of the 9/11 Victims Fund. So nobody questioned her ethics or anything. Over $120 million is eventually paid out to 136 victims. So I think it's unfortunate some victims didn't get anything.
Or some, I mean, you have to say alleged victims. I'm sure it's not impossible that some people were.
That's what I was going to say. I don't remember hearing about this, but you know. So the compensation ranged from like a few $100,000 to over $1 million. And it just depended on the circumstances and everything. And it was 100% decided by Jordana Feldman.
Okay.
Nobody else had any input or there was no veto power. It was 100% her. And then the fund, it was given a certain date, time range, and it closed in August of 2021.
Okay. And then Mark Epstein's presumably had the residual?
I guess so.
Hundreds of millions of dollars?
Yeah.
For being the brother of one of the most disgusting human beings to ever walk the planet? Awesome.
Keep
it all the way, Mark.
I mean, I think that's good, and it was a good thing that it was done, but I think it should have been about $634 million.
I think it should have been $633.9
compensation fund. I don't. Why? Why does Mark Feldman get a penny?
No,
he shouldn't.
It's blood money.
Yeah. So I think we're going to end this here.
Okay.
And
we're going to name names. We've already named a few names. I want more names, though, Carrie.
I got more names for you.
We're going to talk about this very mysterious thing that is now in the news called the Epstein Files.
Yep.
What they are, who's involved, what they mean, the shenanigan, and why they haven't been released yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Suspicious, isn't it?
It is a little bit. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome, Dean.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.